And that's nowhere more true than the ongoing battle over Obamacare. Now, I know Democrats think that's over. They passed their bill, and it's time to move on. Now, let me be clear on this point. Democrats may have had their say on the third Sunday in March. The American people are going to have their say on the first Tuesday in November. And House Republicans will not rest until we have repealed the government takeover of health care, lock, stock, and barrel. Now, the President doesn't think we can repeal this bill. On the first stop of the Obamacare World Tour 010, he said advocates of repeal should go for it. Well, Mr. President, count on it. You know, we can repeal and replace Obamacare with law that will lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. Here's a crazy idea. Why don't we allow Americans to purchase health insurance across state lines the way they purchase life insurance and car insurance? And we can repeal and replace Obamacare with real malpractice reform like Indiana's had on the books since the days of Governor Doc Bowen. Now, to those who say it'll be too difficult to repeal and replace Obamacare, I say it's a two-step process. First, we repeal the Pelosi Congress in 2010, and second, we replace this administration in 2012. Now, so we've made some great strides in the past year, but there's a lot more to do. And that's what I want to speak to you about in the remainder of my time tonight. The truth is, men and women, as the governor said, it's only halftime in the locker room. We're ahead on Freedom's scoreboard in many ways, but there's a lot of time left on the clock. As the Butler Bulldogs found out just the other night, the lead can change hands again and again. But what matters is when the buzzer sounds. Bottom line is, this isn't over. We cannot rest. We cannot relent. We cannot let up for one moment until we take back the Indiana General Assembly for conservative values and take back the American Congress for the American people. So how do we do it? How do we do it? Well, first, I think we got to stay focused. Distraction is the enemy of our success. You know, politics is always filled with speculation. Who's up, who's down, who's next? Mike McDaniel's pretty good at all that stuff. Well, I got to tell you, we got to resist the temptation to look past this next election. I was watching the pregame there for Monday night's game, and I saw Coach Brad Stevens standing in front of his team. And he said words, and I paraphrase, he said, quote, we got to just focus on the next possession. Well, I'm telling you, Coach Stevens was right. Men and women of the Republican Party, the next possession is Election Day 2010. We have to do everything in our power to give this governor a Republican majority in the Indiana General Assembly. With a Republican majority in the General Assembly, Governor Daniels can keep our state on a pathway toward fiscal solvency and balanced budgets. With a Republican majority in the General Assembly, Governor Daniels and Speaker Bosma will be able to create an even better and more attractive climate to grow Hoosier jobs. And with a Republican majority in the General Assembly, Governor Daniels and Tony Bennett will be able to enact real education reform that focuses resources on students and classrooms and not bureaucracy. Unless we lose our focus, we've also got to be intent on doing Indiana's part to reclaim Capitol Hill. Every single day between now and Election Day, we have to remind our neighbors and friends that a recession is when your neighbor loses his job. A depression is when you lose your job. and a recovery is when Nancy Pelosi loses her job. We got to do our part. We got to put forward men and women committed to fight for a strong national defense, limited government, and traditional moral values without apology. You know, I've said for years I'm a conservative, but I'm not in a bad mood about it. You know, we got to be happy warriors, cheerful conservatives who'll take our message to every community, regardless of race or creed or color in this state. Our values know no ethnic boundaries, and Republicans in Indiana have to redouble our efforts to be the party of Lincoln once again. And lastly, we've got to show the American people that we know what's at stake right now by offering a compelling vision for a better America, grounded in the timeless principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. You know, the American people are looking for answers right now. Lord knows we need it. Despite the political gains of the last year and the momentum that we all feel, men and women, America is changing. And she is not changing for the better. A nation conceived in liberty has come of age in bondage to big government. We've lost respect in the world. We're going broke. And our social and cultural fabric is unraveling. During similar times in 1976, Margaret Thatcher told her Conservative Party, and I quote, "Economically, Britain is on its knees." She said, "It's not unpatriotic to say this. It is no secret. It is known by people of all ages. For them, hope is withered and faith has gone sour, and for we who remain, it is close to midnight." Close quote. Well, I say to my fellow Hoosiers, America is not yet on her knees, but she is bowed by years of fiscal recklessness, debt, and cultural decline. In the face of their failed leadership, our party must produce a vision for a better America, a positive vision that will return our national government to the common sense and common values of the American people. So what does that look like? Well, first off, it means rededicating ourselves as Republicans to doing everything that's necessary to defend this nation at home and abroad, giving our American soldiers the resources they need to get the job done and come home safe. And it means giving our intelligence communities the tools to fight the war in terror like a war, ending this era where we're putting international public relations ahead of public safety. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his cohorts should not be tried in our criminal courts. They should be tried in a military tribunal at Guantanamo Bay where they belong. And it means being good to our friends and tough on our enemies, not the other way around. The recent controversy with Israel over construction in Jerusalem was appalling. I never thought I'd live to see the day that an American administration would denounce the Jewish state of Israel for rebuilding Jerusalem. Let the world know this if it knows nothing else. America stands with Israel.